Quran in Ramadan. When I said to you last week, when the month of Ramadan has ended, and mashallah, you recited the whole Quran. Of course, our sisters have a certain time of the month when they cannot recite. So these words are more applicable to the brothers and the sisters. When the month of Ramadan has ended and you recited the whole Quran, the Quran comes and knocks at your door, the door of your heart. Are you going to abandon me now? No, no, don't do that. In the same way that you recited the whole Quran cover to cover in Ramadan, you must do the same thing in Shawwal. And then you must do the same thing in Zulqa'dah, and you must do the same thing in Zulhajj, and you must do the same thing in Muharram, and you must do the same thing in Safar, and you must do the same thing in Rabiul Awwal, etc. If you had been teaching your children, if you had devoted attention to your children and your grandchildren, they'll be doing it. All their lives, when you're in your grave, they'll be doing it. So our message in Ramadan is very simple to you. Pay attention to the Quran and get into the habit of reciting the whole Quran cover to cover every month. Learn enough Arabic to be able to understand at least the surface meaning of what you're reciting. Now then, I gave a khutbah, Salatul Jummah, 2 days ago at a masjid here in Trinidad, and someone came to me after the salat. And I had mentioned in my khutbah that there is no obligation to recite the whole Quran in the Salatul Taraweeh, because I notice now that many masajid have instituted that you have to recite the whole Quran in Salatul Taraweeh. Salatul Taraweeh is the long prayers in the night of Ramadan. And because they have to recite the whole Quran, the Hafiz of the Quran, of course you've got to be a Hafiz to do that, he recites at 95 miles an hour. So I said, you do not have to recite the whole Quran in Salatul Taraweeh. No. And someone challenged me and said, no, it is Sunnatul Mu'akkada. So let me respond to him today. When the obligation came down to recite the Salatul Taraweeh and was communicated by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, for the entire time that the Prophet lived alayhi salatu wasalam, until he died, Salatul Taraweeh was never performed as a jama'ah. Never. People perform Salatul Taraweeh individually, the way you perform Salat Nafil individually, Salatul Nafilah, individually. Some of them would perform it in the masjid, in different parts of the masjid. Some would perform it at home. And this continued all through the life until the Prophet ﷺ died. And during the time of the Khilafah of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the same thing continued. It is a well-established fact. No one can challenge it, not even with a bulldozer, that Salatul Taraweeh in the Jama'ah was instituted at the time of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So now, if it is Sunnatul Mu'akkada to recite the whole Quran in Salatul Taraweeh, and the Prophet ﷺ should have ordered all Muslims to memorize the whole Quran. Did he do that? How will you recite the whole Quran in Salatul Taraweeh if you are not Hafiz of the Quran? If it is obligatory to recite the whole Quran in Salatul Taraweeh, you must be a Hafiz. And if it's obligatory for all Muslims, then all Muslims should become Hufaz of the Quran. It doesn't make sense. No, it's not true. It's incorrect. There is no obligation to recite the whole Quran in Salatul Taraweeh. If you want to do so, by all means, there's no prohibition. You can do it. However, do not hasten your tongue. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Do not hasten your tongue to recite the Quran with speed. You know what I'm saying is correct. You know that what I'm saying is true. And yet it goes into one ear and come out of the other ear, and tonight you'll go back to the masjid and recite at that monstrously sinful speed. Have you no sense? And you go and stand up in the saf while he's reciting at that monstrously sinful speed and accept it. Have you no sense? This is why I'm so happy with the Imam at Masjid al-Furqan in St. Mary's Village in South Oropuch. You go down the South Trunk Highway and you take left to go to Avocat. And about 1 mile, as soon as the road goes down a steep incline, on the right-hand side you see the big building which is being used as a masjid. And I go there every night for Salatul Taraweeh, and it is a joy to listen to the Qari reciting the Quran so beautifully. And I was just told that this is also being done at the Simab Memorial Masjid in Charlieville, but it's a little bit too far for me to drive from San Fernando. But Sheikh Khalid recites beautifully, mashallah. So look for a place where the Quran is being recited beautifully. Look for a place where you can perform your Salatul Taraweeh and your eyes will be filled with tears. And go and perform the Salatul Taraweeh there, or better to stay home rather than to join in that sinful recitation of the Quran. Now then, Allah says, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whosoever lives to witness that you're alive and the month of Ramadan comes, you must fast. فَلْيَصُمْ. You must fast. And he gives us a law of fasting. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ ثُمَّ أَتِمُّوا الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. Eat and drink during the nights of Ramadan. Eat and drink until the white thread, you know what's a thread? You have a kite, thread. The white thread of dawn is distinct from the black thread. And then you begin the fast. The day has begun when you can distinguish between the white thread and the black thread of dawn. I don't have to tell you, this is mutashabiha. You know it. The companion who put a white thread and a black thread underneath his pillow, a morning he picked it up and he's having difficulties. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ, who then, he gave the ta'wil, or the interpretation of the Quranic ayah. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, he had the knowledge and he gave the ta'wil, or the interpretation of an ayah mutashabiha. There are two kinds of verses in the Quran. The ayat which are muhkamat, plain and clear, no need for any interpretation, and ayat mutashabihat, or verses which have to be interpreted. So he said, when Allah spoke of the white thread and the black thread, Allah is using symbolic language. What he means by that is when the light of the day is distinct from the darkness of the night, that is when the fasting will begin. So eat and drink in the night time until that moment when the light of the day is distinct from the darkness of the night. I met someone in Lahore, which reminds me that, mashallah, we now have a group in Lahore who are sitting listening to the lectures and who have a discussion session afterwards. And we have one in Quetta in Pakistan. And I'm so happy to announce that now there's a growing group in the city of Hyderabad in India, which is my Hamwatan. My great-grandfather, Pardada, traveled from Hyderabad in India to Trinidad about 200 years ago. So I'm Hyderabadi, and I like Hyderabadi biryani. It's the best in the world. So there is a growing group now in Hyderabad, which is meeting and listening to the lecture and having a discussion session afterward. That discussion session is more important. There's one going to start in Karachi soon, and we already have one in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. When the month of Ramadan comes, eat and drink during the night time. So this fellow in Lahore said to me, and he is big like this, he says, Sheikh, Allah told me eat and drink, so I spend the whole night eating and drinking all through the night. I'm not making fun of you if you were listening to me in Lahore, okay? It's just I found it amusing when he interpreted the Quran this way. No, Allah says, do not commit excess. No, don't commit excess. You must eat with moderation. And the Quran also says, أُحِلَّ لَكُمْ لَيْلَةَ الصِّيَامِ رَفَثُوا إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ. It is also halal to have intimate relations in the nights of Ramadan. إِلَى نِسَائِكُمْ, with your woman, meaning the woman with whom it is lawful to have intimacy. That's what the Quran is talking about. Those women with whom it is lawful for a man to have intimate relations. I don't need to expand on that because that's going to take much more time. This is a new law of fasting. Yes. This is the first time we are fasting like this. We've been in the city of Medina for 17 months now. This is Shaban. This is the second Shaban in Medina after the Hijrah. We left Makkah, we came to Medina, in the Hijrah, and we have been in Medina for 17 months. At that time it used to be called Yathrib. And we were also fasting in Medina. Yes. But we were fasting in accordance with the law which came down in the Torah. That's how we fasted for 17 months. And that law was different to this law. In that law, the fast will begin at sunset and continue all through the night and all through the next day until sunset. And during this period of time, from sunset to sunset, no food, no drink, and no intimacy, no sexual relations. That's how we fasted. And now comes down a new revelation in the Quran, which cancels or abrogates that previous law and replaces it with a new law. Allah refers to this in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah. And He says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها أو مثلها. We do not cancel, we do not abrogate any law which we send down, nor do we cause it to be forgotten. The ayah here is a law. But that we replace it with that which is better or that which is similar. Notice I pause. Notice I'm speaking very slowly now. Why? Because Allah did not say that we replace it with that which is different. No. He said we replace it, the old law is replaced with a new law, which is either better or similar. But we don't have the time to take up the subject of al-masik and mansukh at this time. So we were fasting in accordance with the law of fasting given to the Jews and the Christians in the Torah. And that's the way that Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, fasted as well. And now comes a new law of fasting. But the masculine virility was so powerful. Was it because of camel's milk? I don't know. The masculine virility was so powerful that many who were fasting according to that law of fasting could not stay away from their wives at night time. So Allah says, عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Allah knows what you used to be doing secretly. You were supposed to stay away from them, but you used to go to them in the night time. Allah knows what you were doing secretly. عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ خَانَ يَخُونُ, to betray. فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَعَفَى عَنْكُمْ. Allah has turned towards you mercifully, and Allah has forgiven you. فَالْآنْ بَاشِرُهُنَّ. So now you can embrace your wives, your women with whom you are legally entitled to have intimacy. That is the verse. You are now entitled to embrace them. وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. And seek for what Allah has written for you. Maybe long time, 10, 12 children, now only one. This is the Quran now when it chooses the month of Ramadan for fasting, a new law of fasting. It is the second Shaban in Medina. But this revelation, in which the month of Ramadan is chosen for a month of compulsory fast, this had come down from the Law al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet in heaven, come down to the Sama ad-Dunya, the lowest of the Samawat, and it came down on Laylatul Qadr. So long ago, 14, 15 years ago it came down. When Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi came down to the Prophet ﷺ, the whole Quran came down there. So why does Allah wait for 15 years, almost 15 years, to send down this revelation from the Sama ad-Dunya to Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, promulgating the fast of Ramadan? Why did it take so long? What is Allah waiting for? And waited for almost 15 years. We will not be able to give you the full answer in the amount of time we have left for today, but we will begin the answer. I notice there are no calls today. Let us recall that it is in the month of Shaban, which is the month which precedes Ramadan, that the revelation came down. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whosoever lives to witness the month of Ramadan, you must fast. It is happening in the Shaban, the month of Shaban. But something else happened in that month of Shaban. And that is that we used to perform our salat facing the Qibla in Jerusalem. That was our Qibla. The Qibla means the direction of prayer. And Jerusalem was the Qibla for the Jews. Jerusalem was the Qibla for the Christians. And Jerusalem was our Qibla as well. And so when Nabi Muhammad ﷺ was in Mecca and he had to perform salat, he would stand at a corner of the Kaaba where he could face both the Kaaba and Jerusalem at the same time. That is where he performed his salat, because he has a legal obligation to pray in the direction of Jerusalem. But his heart is with the Kaaba. But when we left Mecca and we went to Medina, now that is no longer possible. You have to pray in the direction of Jerusalem and your back is now turned to the Kaaba. Your back is turned to the Kaaba. It was a great test. It was a great test. And that is how we prayed for 17 months until revelation came down. In the month of Shaban, the second Shaban in Medina, the same month in which the revelation came down about the fast of Ramadan. And Allah says, turn to the Kaaba. This is naskh. This is abrogation. This is cancellation. The old Qibla is now cancelled for us, not for them. It is still the Qibla for the Jew. It is still the Qibla for the Christian. I made a mistake many years ago when I said it's now cancelled for them as well. No, I didn't study the Quran properly. I make mistakes. But alhamdulillah, when I make a mistake and I recognize it's a mistake, I'm not afraid to correct myself, alhamdulillah. And my students also must do the same. So Allah changed the Qibla. This is naskh. Cancelled or abrogated the old Qibla for us, not for them, and gave us a new Qibla, which is the Kaaba. And that happened in the month of Shaban, the second Shaban. But something else happened. The next month after Shaban will be Ramadan. And so far we have been prohibited from fighting. No, not allowed. All of the 13 years that we were in Mecca after the revelation came down for the first time. 13 years in Mecca, we were not allowed to fight. No fighting. And 17 months in Medina, no fighting, none. But next month will be Ramadan. And it was on the 17th day of Ramadan that we fought the Battle of Badr. If I'm wrong, please correct me, because I'm 75 years of age and sometimes I don't remember, okay? I believe it was the 17th day of Ramadan that the Battle of Badr was fought. And we are fighting now, which we not allowed to do before. The permission to fight is now given. We are not sure whether it was also in the month of Shaban, but it has to be just before Ramadan. So 3 things are happening at the same time. Number 1, the Qibla is changed. Number 2, the law of fasting is changed. Number 3, the law of prohibition of warfare or fighting is changed. Kutiba alaykumul qital. Fighting is now made obligatory upon you. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Fasting is now made obligatory on you. Why? Why at this time? I'm going to have to keep you in a little bit of suspense until next week, inshallah, when we will attempt to answer the question, why has Allah done these things at this time? Before we proceed to answer that question, however, let me spend just a little time on the question of abrogation, cancellation. I was sitting in the classroom. I hope we have enough time. I was sitting in the classroom and my teacher was teaching tafsir. And it was the tafsir of Surah An-Nur, or the Surah of Light, which is Surah number 24. And in that class, a very old man, and he loved to chew something called pan, betel leaf. And it causes your lips to become red. So may Allah have mercy on his soul. His name was Maulana Zafrullah. He now passed away, to Allah's mercy. And in the middle of the class, he mentioned to me something about, it used to be in the Quran, there's a hadith, this used to be in the Quran, but it's no longer in the Quran now. And I woke up, because many times I fall asleep in his class, you know. I woke up. It used to be in the Quran. It's not in the Quran anymore. This sounds like nonsense to me. So I waited patiently until the class was over. As soon as the class was over, I went up to Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari in his office. I said, Maulana, this is what they just told me in the classroom. And when he looked at my face, he said, Imran is in trouble. Something used to be in the Quran is no longer in the Quran. He said, no, son, they're wrong. What the teacher had taught me in the classroom was wrong. He said, no verse of the Quran, none have been cancelled, none have been abrogated, none have been forgotten, none have been lost, none. He said, if any verse of the Quran had been cancelled or abrogated, then the information should have come to us from he who was sent to teach the Quran. Allah says that he sent Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, لِيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابِ, that he will teach you the book. And this is very, very, very important. The teacher should teach. But there is no hadith, none, where the Prophet ﷺ has ever said that any verse of the Quran has ever been cancelled or abrogated. None. And so the correct position is that cancellation or abrogation refers to previous revelation, previous laws. And I've given you the example that used to be the Qibla, and now this is the Qibla. That used to be the law of fasting, and now this is the new law of fasting. That used to be a prohibition concerning fighting, and now the law has changed, and we have permission to fight. This is naskh, and mansukh and nasikh. This is the law of abrogation. I thank you for listening to me so patiently wherever you are in the world, and I pray that Allah might accept our fast of Ramadan, that Allah might accept our Salatul Taraweeh, that Allah might accept our recitation of the Quran in blessed Ramadan, and if we don't know the Arabic to understand, start attending the class, and that Allah might accept all the charity that we give in blessed Ramadan. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.